In section 10 of This Is Our Story by Wendi Adelson, we see that Rosa is missing her mother and sister and hoping that the attorney, Lily, will be able to do something to get them to be in New York with her. We also see that Mila has become in contact with her mother and speaks to her regularly, but her mother does not want to come to the United States. She says that's Mila's dream. Mila still does not want to go back to Slovakia. She's thinking maybe first she thought she'd be a lawyer, then she thought she'd be a cosmetologist, and she still wants to be an actress. And she meets a local man who takes her home. We find that eventually Mila gets pregnant. Meanwhile, attorney Lily is pregnant and Josh is trying to help her, and she's just in a mood. He cooks her tuna and she's concerned about the mercury and other things like that. So she's blowing up at him. All right, so that's a quick review of the next section. And the book is moving on, so I think I'm going to go right on from section 10 and do part 11 right here. And this is going to be quick. Lily has a miscarriage. Eventually, Rosa's family comes up, and Maria's not happy to be in the United States. Mila has her baby, and Lily gets very involved in bringing her to appointments because the man that impregnated Mila, a local man from the area, wants nothing to do with her or the baby. Her mother suggests that she not have the baby, and what she does is she abandons the baby with a note for Lily, who's already lost her own baby. So at this part of the book, it's like we no longer get any legal explanations. Somehow, Lily has adopted this baby. So we don't know how this has happened. Has she gone to court, and has there been some kind of finding of neglect or abandonment of the baby by Mila, and has Lily had her parental rights terminated? Meantime, she's left Josh. She meets with him with the new baby, and she says the baby's gonna have her name, Walker, and she's taking back her name as well. And she thanks Josh for everything he's done in bringing her there, where she's found this identity, to be a human trafficking attorney now. And so it seems like through her new identity, through her new job, that's where she found everything, including motherhood. So that's the end of this story. And Mila has made her way off to Texas. So that's basically the whole plot. I'm not giving you all the details in the end because I think I've read parts of those sections in the past. So, what do you think of this book or the plot of this book? And I'm asking people to look at the whole plot of the book, the trafficking part and the storyline, and kind of separate what you think about this book from the trial and what you think about the author of the book. Because that's what I was trying to do with this deep dive. So I'm going to give you my own opinions. So I do think, in terms of a really simple, making people aware and making maybe young people interested enough in the stories and to have sympathy for the characters who end up, being selling their bodies in the back of the car because they have no choices, I think it does a fairly good job of that. And that's, I think, what it's aiming to do. Where I think it gets lost is the young person who's like just learning about trafficking in this kind of engaging way is not going to relate to this a character who's 35, much older than, Wendi was when she became a mother or whatever, but this character who's just torn and finding her identity and unhappy in her marriage. So those themes are not for the young people who would be reading this. So like there, even though we could see, oh, there's parallels to it, for an older reader, the story, and if you know anything about trafficking, the stories about the characters are kind of too simplistic. And the story about the marriage is infuriating because you're just like, oh, this woman's a baby. She doesn't know how to communicate. And the husband doesn't communicate, communicates a little bit more, but it's just this kind of adolescent way of being married. So the character doesn't have the skills to have both the marriage and a career. She doesn't have the emotional skills. But in terms of the trafficking part, I think that part was well done. In terms of the part where Wendy's putting herself in there and her conflict in her life, I think that could have been dealt with herself, and you know with a therapist herself, like to move on. But maybe some of Mila and Mila's conflict with her mother and looking for her own life, which isn't really realistic, is reflected in Lily's life. So it's interesting. And so I'm looking at this story and nothing to do with, how Tallahassee or feelings about Tallahassee impacted the case against Donna Adelson. So we can see, in terms of that, Donna Adelson said moving to South Florida is essential. So Donna may have been looking at her grown daughter as if she'd been trafficked because she was stuck in a different part of Florida and didn't like her life, but that's not really what it was. So we've got first world problems mixed in with real problems in this book. Thanks for listening, and celebrate uncertainty. Then again, maybe not.